Mighty warriors of truth gather close. As shadows of betrayal tighten around us, I welcome you with a roar in the silence, with a fire in my voice. Today, you stand not as victims but as judges of the unmasked treachery. Today, every breath you take carries the weight of the hidden lies that sought to cripple your world. You didn't trace the info. You buried everyone involved. They thought deceit could slither in like poison unnoticed. They believed silence could shield them from the horror of their own making. But you rose. You pressed forward. You searched in the darkest corners. You exposed what should have stayed buried because the rot was too large to ignore. They whispered in secrecy. They conspired in shadows, believing they held power over your fate. But power misplaced is a mirror of fear and weakness. You saw through their charade. You saw the hand that wrote the lies, the tongue that spread the whispers, the eyes that watched you suffer in ignorance. You didn't just trace the info. You unearthed it with force sharper than regret, with resolve harder than betrayal. In their cowardice, they leaked truths, twisted truths, lies dressed up as fact, hoping to confuse, hoping to distract. They played a dangerous game, believing you would trip, believing you would accept their version, believing you would bow. But here you are, stronger than deception, sharper than any smear campaign, braver than any whispered threat. Every hall where they plotted, every whispered phone call, every forged signature, every calculated betrayal, every promise. They broke lies beneath your feet. Their walls shake at your steps. Their hidden rooms echo with all the damning secrets they never expected to see the light. You didn't wait for someone else to speak. You didn't depend on mercy. You didn't care if they told you it was forbidden to dig into their business, forbidden to question their power, forbidden to demand justice. You knew forbidden is the cloak of the guilty. Forbidden is the tool of cowards. Forbidden is what they use to silence voices like yours. You are not a puppet dancing to their scripts. You are the author rewriting the ending. You are the storm that washes away their pretenses, the hurricane that topples their thrones, the lightning that reveals their rotten cores. And now you stand at the precipice of change. What they thought they had hidden, what they thought they had buried deep beneath, layers of deceit is now bleeding through the cracks of their lies, past the rotting boards of their secrets, into the open light where shame festers, where truth screams. There is no rest for those who betrayed. There is no sanctuary for those who leaked. There is no forgiveness for those who counted you weak while you were gathering strength. No negotiation when the scales have finally tipped. No escape. When you snatched the rope, they tried to tie around your neck and use it to hang them with their own guilt. They will ask, who leaked the info first? Who dropped the match? Who whispered behind closed doors? They will tremble with fear because the answer is already written in their trembling hands, in their sleepless nights, in their regret. They think they can hide behind lies again, but there is no repeating the same mistake. There is no more hiding. You are the keeper of truth. You are the blade they fear. You are the reckoning they never wanted. You are every voice they silenced, every person they betrayed, every promise they broke, turned into fuel, burning hotter than anger, burning brighter than justice. Look at their faces. Know that every glance they throw carries guilt. Know that every step they take is haunted by what they hid. Know that every breath they draw is borrowed from the lies they told, hoping you wouldn't find the lies, hoping the truth would stay suffocated under their weight. But you lifted that weight. Their ground is unstable now. Their alliances tremble. Their excuses crumble. Their veneer of respectability cracks. All their influence, their control, their fear relied on secrecy. Now that secrecy is gone, now that you have ripped it open, they have nowhere left to run. You did not trace the info to crush, but to cleanse, to expose not just what was said, but who said it, to reveal not only the whisper, but the hand that tied your lips, to pull back the curtains and let the light burn away the false smiles, the fake loyalties, the rusted moral currency they traded in. This moment is not mercy. This moment is reckoning. You are not here to offer pardon. You are here to demand accountability. You are here to force the unspoken confession from every guilt-drenched mouth. You are here so they cannot pretend. Ignorance cannot pretend victimhood, cannot pretend innocence. And when they ask, who leaked the info first? You will answer not with fear, but with truth. You will answer with betrayal laid bare. You will answer with the roar of everyone you survived, the lies you endured, the hidden schemes you exposed. They are done because secrets are their currency, and you just went bankrupt on every front because power built on shame is brittle, and you just shattered every pillar because courage demands consequences, and they will face them. So rise now. Rise with the bitterness of betrayal in your veins and the fury of justice in your heart. Do not soften your gaze. Do not waver your resolve. Do not whisper for mercy, because this moment calls not for soft words. It calls for thunder. You are the reckoning. You are the light in the black. You are the terror of every hidden lie. You didn't trace the info. You buried every single person involved. You didn't wait for them to fall. You made sure their foundation was crushed, their deception exposed, their betrayal visible for all to see. They leaked first, but you finished last. You finish strongest. You finish never letting them forget you, because they signed their own sentence when they thought you wouldn't look, when they believed you wouldn't search, when they dared to hide behind unreliable tongues and false promises. So hold the fear in your eyes. Let them see it. Let them taste it. Let them know that the next time someone thinks betrayal is easy, they will remember your name. They will remember the truth you uncovered. They will remember the force they awakened when they crossed you. You didn't trace the info. You buried everyone involved, and in that burial you planted the seeds of your rise. You buried their lies so your truth could grow tall. You buried their conspiracy so your integrity could stand unshaken in sunlight. Do not lower your voice now. Do not retreat into silence now. Do not allow them a final stand of excuses or repentances, because their repentance without exposure is poison, because their excuses once spoken without admission are just another layer of lies. Let the scars you carry be your badge. Let the sleepless nights be your oath. Let the fury seething in your heart be your guide. Let the truth you hold be your sword. Today, they are done. They bleed under the weight of their betrayal, because you have made betrayal visible, because you have made weakness to be seen, because you have made hiding impossible. You are done forgiving what you cannot forget, done tolerating what you cannot endure, done letting their shadows roam unchecked. And now you will move forward with eyes open, with fists clenched, with voice raised with truth, your shield with courage, your companion with justice, your mission in the chaos of their downfall, in the echo of their exposed deceit, in the silence that follows the storm. Let them remember one sentence. Let it haunt every guilty mind. Let it echo in every fearful heart. Who leaked the info first? They're done, because they leaked first, but you finished last, because they started the betrayal, but you finish it with justice, because they sought to break you, but you broke their lies instead. Rise forward. Now, no hesitation. Now, no mercy. Now, no ignorance, only truth. only exposure, only consequence, because some crimes cannot be forgiven, some lies cannot be ignored, some betrayal demands a reckoning, and this is yours, this is ours. The reckoning, long overdue, the exposure they feared, the truth they never expected, the moment where betrayal fails to find refuge. You didn't trace the info, you buried everyone involved. You asked, who leaked the info first? They're done. Let it be known, let it be written, let it be feared, because truth walks in light, and betrayal crumbles in shadow, and you are the one holding the light. Let the silence speak now, for the weight of what has happened cannot be undone. Only faced, only answered, only atoned for in the wreckage of the false walls they built to keep you blind. Now stand the remnants of their own self-destruction. You gave them time, you gave them warning, you gave them the space to come clean, and they chose instead to bury deeper, to hide, louder, to silence, stronger. But now their choices are irrelevant because you didn't wait for justice. You became it. You didn't ask for someone to come save the day. You stepped into the fire with bare hands and pulled the truth out yourself. Not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. Because the cost of silence was too high. Because watching everything crumble under secrets would have been the real betrayal, and you refused to carry that weight any longer. They thought you'd crumble under pressure, but you built resilience like a fortress, brick by brick, forged from every time they lied, every time they covered for each other, every time they smiled while stabbing from behind. They were not prepared for what you've become. They were not ready for someone who wouldn't break. They were not ready for you to learn what they feared you'd find. And when you found it, when you traced every thread, when you followed every connection, when you discovered not just who said it, but who funded it, who covered it up, who benefited from the silence, you became the force they could never control. They had power in secrets, but you made secrets obsolete. They will say it's gone too far, but they're wrong. It didn't go far enough. Not until every name is known. Not until every masked face is exposed. Not until every coward who sat silent while others suffered is forced to answer for their inaction, for their comfort, for their complicity. This is not vengeance. This is truth, unbound. This is what happens when people believe they are untouchable and forget that no lie lives forever. This is what happens when those in the dark forget the cost of dragging someone into it with them, and that cost is coming. Now, it walks in your steps. It breathes in your resolve. It lives in your voice. They will say, you're ruthless, but they've mistaken accountability for cruelty. They will say, you destroyed everything, but they forget they built everything on lies. They will say, you didn't have to do this, but they left you no choice. When they made silence your only option, when they made deception the foundation, when they decided the truth wasn't welcome in their halls, you didn't trace the info, you followed it, you hunted it, you became its protector. And when you found it, you didn't let go. And now everyone who thought they were safe is standing in the flood of what you uncovered, every shield gone, every excuse crumbled, every smug silence shattered. And here's the truth they never wanted to hear. It was never about the info. It was never about a leak. It was never about one person talking out of turn. It was about a culture, a system, a rotting cycle built on keeping people like you silent, on making people like them safe. And they thought that system would last forever. But systems fall, and yours is the hand that pushed it over the edge. You are not the enemy. You are the end of what should have ended long ago. They will remember how you spoke, not with hatred, but with power, not with fury, but with clarity, not with chaos, but with truth. They will remember how you stood unshaken as their empire of secrets collapsed. They will remember how you walked through the storm. They tried to drown you in and you walked out, holding the very truth they buried. You didn't trace the info. You dug graves for the lies you laid to rest, the fake friendships, the false promises, the rigged loyalties. And now the only thing left is the echo of what they never imagined they'd hear. Who leaked the info first? They're done. Because now they're facing what they created. Now the questions they thought would never be asked are carved into every wall of the world they once controlled. Now they see that when you expose the core, nothing pretty survives because nothing pretty existed in the first place. Only polished rot, only rehearsed deception, only layers upon layers of betrayal, made palatable through charm and manipulation. But you took a blade to the charm. You burned down the illusions, and you let the smoke rise so high the world had to look. They will wish they had come clean before. They will wish they had spoken when silence still felt like safety. They will wish they had never tested how deep you were willing to go for truth. But now it's too late. You went beyond the surface. You didn't stop at rumors. You didn't stop at confessions. You kept going until everything was stripped bare, until not a single one of them could pretend anymore, until everyone involved was forced to see themselves for who they really were. You didn't trace the info. You dismantled the lie behind it. You peeled back the truth layer by layer until every mask fell, until every backroom deal was exposed, until every ally they relied on for protection stepped away in fear. And now they sit in silence, no script to follow, no one to deflect, to no more hiding in plain sight. Because you didn't chase drama. You weren't after attention. You were after justice, the kind that leaves no stone unturned, the kind that doesn't flinch at consequences, the kind that scares those who think they're above it. And that's what you are now, a consequence they didn't see coming. And as the dust settles, as they scramble for damage control, as they point fingers at each other to save what's left of their image, you will still be standing because you didn't trace the info. You didn't just find the crack. You split the entire system open and made the world look inside. And now they're done. Not because you destroyed them, but because the truth finally did. You are not the villain in this story. You are the proof that even in a world addicted to lies, someone can rise and say, enough. Let them tremble. Let them whisper. Let them run. It won't change what's already happened. They leaked the info first. They betrayed first. They crossed first. You just made sure the world knew it. And now, they're done. And now, there's no going back. Because once truth escapes the shadows, it never forgets the light. You didn't just expose what was said. You exposed who said it, why they said it, and what they were trying to protect. You shattered the illusion that they were untouchable. You proved that no wall is thick enough, no connection deep enough, no lie clever enough to stop someone who refuses to be silenced. They thought they could isolate you. They thought they could drown you out. But what they failed to understand is that silence doesn't kill the truth. It sharpens it. It turns it into a weapon. And you wielded that weapon with the steadiness of someone who has been betrayed one too many times. They watched as you struggled. They watched as you searched. And they smiled because they thought it would break you. But every lie you uncovered, every contradiction you spotted, every pattern you traced, it wasn't just evidence. It was fuel. It was the wind behind the storm they couldn't see coming. You didn't act out of spite. You acted out of principle. And that's why they fear you more than any enemy. because you weren't fighting for revenge. You were fighting for truth. And truth doesn't die. It doesn't expire. It doesn't fade with time. It only gets louder. And now it's screaming in every hallway they once called safe. You didn't trace the info. You followed the fire. You let it burn through the lies. You let it reduce everything to ash so that only what mattered could remain. And now there's nothing left of their stories. No version of events they can spin. No narrative they can control. Because once the curtain was pulled back, the audience saw them for who they really are. And they are not leaders. They are not victims. They are not misunderstood. They are exposed, complicit, finished. Now their world is shrinking. The voices they once silenced are echoing louder than ever. The alliances they built are cracking under pressure. The foundations they trusted have turned to quicksand. And every time they open their mouths, they choke on the weight of what they kept hidden. This is the moment you've earned. This is the storm you brought. And while they scramble to rewrite history, you're already writing the future. A future where truth is not a liability. A future where silence is not survival. A future where betrayal is not forgiven just because it's old. They wanted to control the story, but stories don't belong to those who hide behind them. Stories belong to the ones who lived them, who survived them, who dared to speak them out loud when it would have been easier to stay quiet. That's you. You, the one who stayed standing. You, the one who never stopped asking questions. You, the one who didn't let fear become permission. And now the ones who leaked the info first, they're done. Not because you said so, not because you punished them, but because they sentenced themselves the moment they believed the truth would never fight back. They gambled everything on silence. You proved that silence doesn't protect, it poisons. And now they're choking on their own narrative, trying to claw their way out of a pit they dug for someone else. But it's too late. You weren't just chasing information, you were restoring balance. You were pulling every lie up by its roots. And the garden they tried to grow with manipulation and fear, you burned it down. And here's the part that terrifies them most. You didn't need anyone's permission. You didn't ask to be chosen. You didn't wait to be validated. You moved when it hurt. You spoke when your voice trembled. You fought when the outcome was uncertain. And in doing so, you became something they never saw coming, unstoppable. Because truth is not soft. It is not fragile. It is not polite. Truth, when wielded by someone who's had enough, is ruthless. Not cruel, but absolute. Final. It ends the chapter without waiting for applause. It closes the book, not with revenge, but with resolution. And now that book has been shut, the story they wrote has been erased, and the spotlight has shifted to you, not as a whistleblower, not as a disruptor, but as a force that doesn't just expose lies, it buries them. A force that doesn't just trace info, it ends the games played with it. You aren't just standing here to say, I told you so. You're standing here to say, never again. Because the world they tried to preserve with secrecy is crumbling. And every person who whispered behind closed doors, who enabled the lie, who nodded while the truth was murdered, they now see your face every time they hear the word accountability. You are what happens when the system underestimates the strength of the silenced. You are what happens when one voice becomes louder than every fake apology. You are what happens when people think they can destroy someone without consequences, and they're wrong. You didn't trace the info. You buried every single person involved, not with violence, not with hate, but with exposure, the one thing they couldn't prepare for. So let this be the lesson. Let it echo in their empty boardrooms, in their broken friendships, in every corner of the empire they built on the bones of others. Let them remember that you were the one they dismissed, until you were the one they feared.